Welcome to Ancient Relics Keeper, where lost truths, ancient mysteries, and forbidden history collide. Let's question the past and uncover what was never meant to be found. For over 1,000 years, a single cryptic text has obsessed alchemists, mystics, and even scientists like Isaac Newton. Known as the Emerald Tablet, it is said to contain the secret formula for understanding the entire universe on a single page. In the long and shadowy history of Western esoteric thought, few documents have exerted as much influence or generated as much mystery as the Emerald Tablet. For well over 1,000 years, this short, cryptic, and profoundly enigmatic text has been a foundational pillar for alchemists, magicians, and Hermetic philosophers. It is often referred to as the Alchemist's Bible, a single condensed page of text that was believed to hold the key to unlocking the deepest secrets of the universe, from the transmutation of metals to the spiritual enlightenment of the soul. Yet, for all its immense fame and influence, the story of the Emerald Tablet is a story of ghosts and echoes. Its origins are shrouded in a dense fog of myth and legend, and the most fundamental part of its story, the physical tablet itself, is a lost artifact that may, in fact, have never existed at all. The traditional origin story of the Emerald Tablet is a masterpiece of mythical storytelling, designed to imbue the text with an aura of immense antiquity and divine authority. The legend, which exists in several variations, typically centers on the figure of Hermes Trismegistus, a semi-mythical sage who is the central figure of the philosophical and religious system known as Hermeticism. Hermes Trismegistus, whose name means thrice greatest Hermes, was a syncretic figure, a deliberate fusion of the Greek god Hermes, the messenger of the gods, the patron of magic and writing, and the Egyptian god Thoth, the ibis-headed deity of wisdom, knowledge, and the moon. This blending of Greek and Egyptian traditions was characteristic of the intellectual climate of Hellenistic Egypt, particularly in the bustling cosmopolitan city of Alexandria in the centuries following its conquests by Alexander the Great. Hermes Trismegistus was seen not as a god to be worshipped, but as a primordial divine teacher, an ancient master of all arts and sciences who had lived in the distant past and had inscribed his universal wisdom for future generations to discover. According to the most famous version of the legend, the Emerald Tablet was discovered by Alexander the Great himself, or in some versions by the philosopher Apollonius of Tyana, in a hidden tomb. The story recounts that after a long search, the discoverer found a secret, subterranean chamber beneath a great statue of Hermes. Inside this chamber, they found the corpse of Hermes Trismegistus, perfectly preserved, seated on a golden throne. Clutched in the hands of this ancient mummified sage was a single brilliant green tablet, an emerald or some other green stone, upon which were inscribed, in a strange unknown language, the 13 cryptic precepts that would become known as the Emerald Tablet. The discoverer took the tablet, and the secret knowledge was thus brought back into the world of the living. This origin story is a powerful piece of mythology. It establishes the text as a direct transmission from a divine, ancient source, a piece of primordial wisdom that has been preserved in a pure and uncorrupted form, literally taken from the hands of the master himself. It is a classic found text narrative, designed to give the text an almost unassailable authority. Despite this powerful and enduring legend, the central and most frustrating fact about the Emerald Tablet is that the physical object has never been found. There is absolutely no archaeological or historical evidence to support the existence of a literal, emerald-inscribed tablet discovered in a hidden Egyptian tomb. No credible historian or archaeologist takes the origin story as a factual account. The physical Emerald Tablet is a lost artifact, and it is highly probable that it was never a physical artifact to begin with. The name itself may have been entirely symbolic. In alchemical and esoteric traditions, the color green and the emerald gemstone are often associated with the planet Venus, with the element of earth, with the concept of life and generation, and with the creative power of nature. The Emerald Tablet could, therefore, be a metaphorical title, suggesting that the text contains the foundational, life-giving secrets of the material world, rather than describing the material it was written on. The mystery of the lost original is thus a profound one. We are dealing with a text whose entire tradition is based on a physical object that almost certainly never existed outside of the realm of legend. So, if the original tablet is a myth, where did the text we know today actually come from? The historical trail of the text is almost as complex and fascinating as its legendary one. While the ideas and philosophies contained within the tablet are clearly rooted in the Hellenistic world of late antiquity, roughly the 1st to 4th centuries AD, the earliest known, complete version of the text that we have today is not in Greek, Coptic, or Latin. It is in Arabic. The text, known as the Tabula Smaragdina in Latin, first appears in a 9th century Arabic work titled Kitab Sir Al-Asrar, or the Book of the Secret of Secrets. This was a popular and influential Arabic encyclopedia of advice for rulers, covering topics from statecraft and medicine to astrology and alchemy. The Emerald Tablet is included within this work, presented as a piece of secret, ancient wisdom. This Arabic origin of our earliest version is a crucial clue. It tells us that the legend and the text of the tablet were part of the vast body of Greek and Hellenistic knowledge that was absorbed, translated, and preserved by the great scholars of the Islamic Golden Age. As the Roman Empire crumbled, much of the scientific and philosophical knowledge of the classical world was lost to Western Europe. However, in centers of learning like Baghdad, Damascus, and Cairo, Arab scholars were meticulously translating Greek works of philosophy, medicine, and science into Arabic, preserving them for future generations. It was within this vibrant intellectual environment that the Emerald Tablet found its first documented home. It became a foundational text for the highly developed tradition of Arab alchemy, influencing great thinkers like Jabir ibn Hayyan, Geber, and al-Razi, Rhazes. From the Islamic world, the Emerald Tablet, along with a vast corpus of alchemical and philosophical knowledge, made its way back into Europe. During the 12th and 13th centuries, a major translation movement began in Spain and Italy, as European scholars sought to reclaim the lost knowledge of the classical world. Translators like Hugo of Suntaya and Robert of Chester, working in the multicultural environment of Toledo in Spain, translated the Arabic scientific and philosophical works into Latin, the scholarly language of medieval Europe. It was through this process that the Tabula Smaragdina was introduced to the West. Its arrival was a revelation. It was seen as a direct and authentic link to the secret, ancient wisdom of Egypt and Hermes Trismegistus, a holy text for the burgeoning field of European alchemy. The lost original may have been a myth, but the text itself was very real, and it was about to begin its long and influential journey through the heart of Western esoteric thought. The story of the tablet's origins is, therefore, a perfect illustration of the channel's theme. A fascinating collision of myth, with its tales of hidden tombs and divine sages, and the verifiable historical reality of cultural transmission, where a short, enigmatic text traveled from the Greco-Egyptian world through the great libraries of the Islamic Golden Age to become a cornerstone of the European Renaissance. The power and enduring fascination of the Emerald Tablet lie not in its mythic origin story, but in the dense, poetic, and profoundly cryptic message it contains. The text itself is remarkably short, typically consisting of just 13 enigmatic precepts or aphorisms. It is a work of immense compression, a piece of writing that purports to distill the entire wisdom of the universe into a few short lines. To its followers, it was not just a collection of obscure sayings, but a divine formula, a step-by-step guide to the great work of creation, both on a cosmic and a personal level. At the heart of this message is a single powerful axiom that has resonated through centuries of Western thought. As above, so below. This principle and the alchemical and philosophical instructions that surround it form the core of the Hermetic worldview, a vision of a unified, interconnected cosmos where the secrets of the divine can be understood by studying the workings of the material world. The most famous and influential line of the Emerald Tablet, the one that has become the central tenet of virtually all subsequent Western esoteric traditions, is the second precept. That which is below corresponds to that which is above, and that which is above corresponds to that which is below, to accomplish the miracles of the one thing. This is the great Hermetic axiom, the master key that unlocks the entire philosophical system. It proposes a radical and beautiful vision of a unified and symmetrical cosmos. It states that there is no fundamental separation between the different realms of existence. The macrocosm above, which represents the heavens, the realm of the planets and stars, the divine, and the great universal law, is a direct and living reflection of the microcosm the below, which represents the earth, the world of nature, and the individual human being. And crucially, the reverse is also true. The human being is not just a pale imitation of the divine. We are a small-scale, complete replica of the entire universe. This was a revolutionary idea. It stood in contrast to many orthodox religious and philosophical systems that emphasized the absolute and unbridgeable gap between the creator and the creation, the divine and the mortal. The Hermetic axiom proposed a universe of correspondence, a cosmos filled with hidden sympathies and connections. The 7 planets of the classical world corresponded to the 7 metals of alchemy and the 7 organs of the human body. The cycles of the stars mirrored the cycles of human life. The structure of the human soul reflected the structure of the cosmos. This meant that knowledge was attainable. By carefully studying the workings of one realm, one could gain insight into the workings of the other. By understanding the processes of nature here on earth, the alchemist could understand the processes of celestial creation. And by understanding the cosmos, the philosopher could understand the true nature and potential of the human soul. The ultimate goal of this knowledge was to accomplish the miracles of the one thing, to understand and participate in the single, unified, divine process of creation that underlies all of reality. The rest of the Emerald Tablet can be read as a cryptic step-by-step guide to achieving this great work. The text speaks of a one thing or one mind that is the ultimate source of all creation, and it outlines a process of creation that is both cosmic and alchemical. It states, "And as all things have been and arose from one by the mediation of one, so all things have their birth from this one thing by adaptation." This was interpreted by alchemists as a reference to the prima materia, or the first matter. This was a central concept in alchemy, the belief in a single primordial and undifferentiated substance that was the raw material from which the entire universe, with all its diversity, was formed. The prima materia was the ultimate secret of nature, the formless chaos that contained the potential for all forms. The great quest of the alchemist was to find this prima materia, not by traveling to some distant land, but by finding it hidden within the ordinary substances of the world. It was believed that this first matter could be found everywhere, if one only had the wisdom to recognize and extract it. The text of the Emerald Tablet was seen as a direct recipe for this extraction. It gives the famous instruction to separate that which is subtle from the gross, sweetly, with great industry. Alchemists interpreted this on multiple levels. On a purely physical or exoteric level, it was a practical instruction for the laboratory. It meant taking a raw substance like a common mineral and subjecting it to a series of alchemical processes, heating, dissolving, distilling, and purifying to separate its subtle, spiritual or pure essence from its gross, earthly, and impure body. The ultimate goal of this physical process was to create the legendary Philosopher's Stone, a substance of perfect purity and balance that could be used to transmute base metals like lead into the perfect metal, gold, and to create an elixir of life that could grant health and immortality. However, for the most sophisticated alchemists, this physical process was merely an allegory for a much deeper spiritual or esoteric transformation. The alchemical laboratory was a mirror of the alchemist's own soul. The gross matter to be purified was the alchemist's own impure, mortal self, their base passions, their ignorance, and their ego. The subtle essence to be extracted was their own divine spark, their higher spiritual nature. The true great work was not the transmutation of lead into gold, but the transmutation of the alchemist's own soul from a state of ignorance and mortality to one of enlightenment and spiritual perfection. The Emerald Tablet's instruction to separate the subtle from the gross was therefore a guide to both physical and spiritual purification. The two processes were inseparable, a perfect example of as above, so below. By working on the purification of matter in the laboratory, the alchemist was simultaneously working on the purification of their own soul and vice versa. The tablet concludes by hinting at the immense power that comes from mastering this knowledge. It states that the creator of the tablet, the mythical Hermes Trismegistus, possesses the three parts of the wisdom of the whole world. This enigmatic phrase has been the subject of much debate, but it was generally interpreted by Hermetic philosophers as a reference to the mastery of the three great realms of knowledge, which together constituted a complete understanding of the universe. The first part was alchemy, the mastery of the terrestrial realm, the understanding of the processes of transformation and generation in the world of matter below. The second part was astrology, the mastery of the celestial realm, the understanding of the movements of the planets and stars and their influence on the world above. The third and highest part was theurgy or divine magic, the mastery of the divine realm, the practical art of communicating with gods, angels, and spirits to bring about real change in the world. An individual who had mastered these three sciences, as Hermes Trismegistus was believed to have done, would have achieved a complete and total understanding of the cosmos, from the lowest clod of earth to the highest heaven. They would have truly accomplished the miracles of the one thing, becoming a co-creator with the divine. The message of the Emerald Tablet, therefore, is a profound and deeply optimistic one. It presents a universe that is not a random collection of disconnected objects, but a single, living, and interconnected whole. It offers a path to knowledge, a way for humanity to understand its place in the cosmos, not as a fallen and insignificant creature, but as a microcosm, a perfect small-scale reflection of the entire divine order. And it provides a practical, if deeply cryptic, guide to a process of transformation, a way to purify both matter and spirit, and to achieve a state of enlightenment and power. It is this powerful and seductive message, this promise of universal knowledge and personal transformation, that made the short, enigmatic text of the Emerald Tablet the single most important and revered document in the entire history of Western alchemy and esotericism. The Emerald Tablet, with its potent and cryptic message of a unified cosmos, did not remain a forgotten piece of esoteric lore confined to the great libraries of the Islamic world. Through the transformative process of translation and cultural exchange, it embarked on a long and influential journey that would see it become a cornerstone of Western thought for over a millennium. Its legacy is a testament to the enduring power of its central idea, as above so below, an idea that would captivate the minds of medieval alchemists, Renaissance philosophers, and even the pioneering figures of the scientific revolution. The tablet's journey through history is a story of how a single short text, born from the syncretic world of Hellenistic Egypt, could transcend cultures and epochs to shape the very foundations of Western esotericism and leave an indelible, though often hidden, mark on the development of Western science and spirituality. The tablet's grand entrance into Western Europe occurred during the 12th century, a period of intense intellectual ferment. European scholars, particularly in the multicultural centers of Spain like Toledo, began the monumental task of translating the vast repository of scientific, medical, and philosophical knowledge that had been preserved and advanced in the Arabic-speaking world. It was during this great translation movement that the Kitab Sir al-Asrar, the Arabic Book of Secrets, containing the Emerald Tablet, was first translated into Latin, the universal language of European scholarship. The text, now known as the Tabula Smaragdina, was an immediate sensation. It was received not just as another piece of arcane knowledge, but as a direct and authentic transmission from the deepest, most sacred antiquity. It was seen as the genuine wisdom of Hermes Trismegistus, a text that predated both Plato and the Bible, a piece of primordial uncorrupted truth. This perceived authority made it the single most important and revered document for the burgeoning tradition of European alchemy. For the next 500 years, from the late Middle Ages through the intellectual explosion of the Renaissance, the Emerald Tablet was the alchemist's Bible. It was the foundational text upon which the entire edifice of European alchemy was built. Alchemists across the continent, from the shadowy workshops of Prague to the royal courts of England, studied its 13 precepts with the same reverence and intensity that theologians applied to Scripture. They wrote endless commentaries on its meaning, each one attempting to decode its cryptic instructions for achieving the great work, the creation of the philosopher's stone. The tablet's ideas permeated the intellectual culture of the time. Its core axiom, as above so below, became the philosophical justification for the alchemical art. It provided a theoretical framework that connected the mundane, practical work of the laboratory, the heating of metals, the distillation of liquidsto, the grand, cosmic processes of creation, and the spiritual quest for personal enlightenment. The influence of the tablet and the Hermetic philosophy it espoused was not limited to the world of alchemy. Its vision of an interconnected, magical cosmos resonated deeply with the spirit of the Renaissance, a period that saw a renewed interest in Neoplatonism, magic, and the recovery of ancient wisdom. Thinkers like Marsilio Ficino, who translated the works of Plato and the Corpus Hermeticum for the Medici court in Florence, and the famous magician and philosopher Giordano Bruno, saw in the Hermetic tradition a powerful alternative to the rigid scholasticism of the medieval church. The Emerald Tablet was a key part of this intellectual rebellion, a symbol of a more ancient, more direct, and more personal path to understanding the divine mysteries of the universe. Perhaps the most surprising and significant figure to fall under the spell of the Emerald Tablet was Sir Isaac Newton, one of the principal architects of the scientific revolution and the father of modern physics. In the popular imagination, Newton is the ultimate rationalist, the man who banished magic from the world and described the universe as a great, clockwork machine governed by universal mathematical laws. But Newton's private papers, which were only made public long after his death, reveal a far more complex and fascinating figure. Newton spent a significant portion of his life, perhaps even more time than he spent on physics and mathematics, deeply immersed in the study of alchemy and esoteric theology. He was obsessed with the idea of recovering a lost, ancient wisdom, a Prisca Theologia, which he believed had been known to the earliest civilizations and had been subsequently corrupted over time. For Newton, the Emerald Tablet was one of the most important and authentic remnants of this ancient wisdom. Among his extensive collection of alchemical manuscripts, a handwritten, personal translation of the Emerald Tablet into Latin was discovered. This was not the work of a casual reader. It was the work of a scholar who was deeply engaged with the text, who believed that its cryptic, allegorical language concealed profound truths about the fundamental nature of reality. Newton likely did not believe the tablet was a literal recipe for turning lead into gold in the simplistic sense. Instead, he probably saw it as a coded description of the fundamental forces and active principles that govern the universe, the very forces he was attempting to describe in his own work on gravity and optics. The alchemical concept of attraction and repulsion, of active and passive principles, resonated with his own theories of a universe governed by universal forces acting at a distance. For Newton, the lines between alchemy and physics were not as clear-cut as they are for us today. He saw himself as a successor to Hermes Trismegistus, a decoder of the ancient secrets of a divinely ordered cosmos. The fact that the man who effectively invented modern science was also a devoted student of the Emerald Tablet is a powerful testament to the text's enduring intellectual appeal. As the scientific revolution gave way to the Age of Enlightenment, alchemy and Hermeticism were gradually pushed to the fringes, dismissed by the new scientific establishment as irrational superstition. The Emerald Tablet, however, did not disappear. It simply went underground, where it became a foundational text for the modern Western esoteric, and occult traditions that emerged in the 19th and 20th centuries. Secret societies like the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn and the Rosicrucians revered the tablet as a source of ultimate truth. Influential figures in modern esotericism, such as the theosophist Helena Blavatsky and the magician Aleister Crowley, all wrote extensive commentaries on the tablet, reinterpreting its ancient wisdom for a modern audience. The tablet's core idea, as above so below, has proven to be incredibly resilient and adaptable, and its influence can still be seen everywhere in modern culture. The psychoanalyst Carl Jung, who was deeply interested in alchemy and Gnosticism, saw in the alchemical process described in the tablet a powerful metaphor for his own theory of individuation's psychological process of integrating the conscious and unconscious parts of the self to achieve wholeness. The quest to unite the above, the conscious mind, and the below, the unconscious, is a central theme in Jungian psychology. The tablet's ideas have also become a cornerstone of New Age spirituality, where the principle of correspondence is often invoked to explain the connection between the mind, the body, and the cosmos. Its influence can be seen in popular books and movies that explore themes of ancient secrets, universal harmony, and hidden knowledge, from the Da Vinci Code to The Secret. The journey of the Emerald Tablet is a remarkable story of intellectual survival. It is a text that has managed to remain relevant for over 1,000 years, adapting its meaning to fit the changing concerns of each new era. From a mythical artifact in an Egyptian tomb, to an alchemical formula in the Islamic world, to a Renaissance philosopher's guide, to a physicist's obsession, and finally to a New Age mantra, the short, cryptic message of the Emerald Tablet continues to resonate, a timeless and powerful expression of one of humanity's most cherished and enduring ideas, the belief that all of creation, from the smallest particle to the grandest star, is profoundly and beautifully interconnected. The Emerald Tablet's power lies not in any physical artifact, but in its enduring idea that all of creation is interconnected. The quest to understand its short, cryptic message is a quest to understand the very fabric of the universe itself. Thanks for exploring with Ancient Relics Keeper. Stay curious, question everything, and remember the truth is often buried deeper than we think.